Hello, how are you doing today? I'm very excited to be with you today. It's another beautiful training Thursday, and I'm very excited to be here. I hope you are too. If you're live, please type in a comment. Let's know how you were doing. Let's know how you were doing. All right. If you're here, please type in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from and how you were doing today. It's another beautiful training Thursday. Okay. All right. How are you doing? How have you been? Today we're going to be sharing on a question that was asked in the community. All right. I made a post, I think that was yesterday, and I was talking about communication. It was our communication Wednesday, and I shared a meme shared by Mommy Modukwe Ehirim. She's a marriage counselor as well, and she shared on how couples need to talk, right, about the stuff that hurts, right? So it's not just talking, but talking about the hard things, the things that really hurt, right, that you may not even want to talk about. All right. And I shared that unfortunately there's really no other way to talk than to actually talk, right? And I thought that was really profound, and it was just a very simple, brief piece of text, and it carried so much weight, and I thought to share it with us. So how have you been talking? How have you been resolving conflicts in your relationship, in your marriage? How have you been, because conflicts are inevitable, right? We go through one conflict every now and then. Even when you resolve one today, it's not a guarantee that another would not happen even in the next 5 minutes, or next one day, or 2 days, or 3 months, or 1 month, as the case may be. So this means that we must be masters in conflict resolution. Like, we must really understand the psychology, the art, the act of resolving conflict. Okay, because I believe that in the process of resolving conflict, it is an opportunity. I see it as an opportunity to become closer to your partner. I see it as an opportunity for deeper understanding and even deeper intimacy between yourself and your partner. So whenever conflicts come, your perception of the conflict will determine how you would also resolve such conflict. So do you see it as an avenue to understand your partner better? Do you see conflict as an opportunity rather than a threat to yourself or to your relationship and marriage? Okay. So sometimes it may be difficult. It could be difficult. It could be challenging. And I shared that yesterday. It could be challenging talking about, stuff that really hurt you. And, unfortunately, again, there is no other way to do this than to talk about it. So it's not really even the talking. In communication, we say that how you say what you say is as important as what you are saying. So it's not even what you're saying, but how you're really saying it. All right, how are you communicating? And that's where learning comes in. So have you been learning how to communicate? Have you learned emotional intelligence? Have you learned how to talk? Because communication is even beyond talking. There's a whole lot that goes into communication, right? The different elements of communication. It's not just to talk. You have to listen. There are sometimes that you have to listen more. I think I've shared this in one of the marriage mindsets, right? And I said that you have to listen more. There's sometimes that you have to really listen more. And of course, the purpose of listening is to understand, not necessarily to talk back, but you need to put yourself in your partner's shoes. Try to understand what your partner is saying. You're listening to understand, not really to respond. And of course, from understanding, you can now know how to respond appropriately. All right, you will learn how to how to respond appropriately, all right? And then subsequently you would appraise the issue. You would appraise yourselves. Okay, how are we doing over this matter? Has any similar issue occurred again? How have we resolved it? How do we need to continue to ensure that these issues do not repeat itself? And when they repeat themselves, or if it repeats itself, how are we going to deal with them? So all of these you need to appraise, you need to review. And that's why I always say that there is no, if you're not appraising your relationship and marriage from time to time, then there's a likelihood that you're just taking it there as it comes. You're just you're not really taking your marriage seriously. If you're taking your marriage very seriously, then you need to appraise your marriage with your partner from time to time. All right, so going to the question that was asked yesterday, the person asked, is there a right and wrong way to address issues between couples? So when I shared that post yesterday, Mommy Modukwe, right? She's also a marriage counselor, like I said earlier. She commented and said that she always finds this a great hurdle for couples whenever she has the opportunity to coach or have clients to work with, especially couples, right? And this question was asked, and I thought, okay, why not address this during the Thursday training today? And it's so important because communication is the bedrock of your relationship. If you're not communicating, then without communication, there's really no relationship, because there has to be communication. There has to be communication for you to understand your partner better, for you to thrive in your relationship. If something is not going well with you, how would you know if you're not communicating? If something is not going well with your partner, how would you know if you're not communicating? So the question, is there a right and wrong way to address issues between couples? Basically, everyone has a definition of right and wrong, right? Everyone has a definition. As you're watching me, you have a definition of what right is. You also have a personal definition of what wrong is. Okay, however, there are also universal definitions of right and wrong. Okay, for example, beating your spouse, for example, can be considered as a right way to actually address issues between yourself and your partner. Okay, so I think I want to rephrase that question and say, are there healthy and unhealthy ways, right? Are there healthy and unhealthy ways? If I was to ask that question, this is what I would, rephrase it as, okay? Are there healthy and unhealthy ways to actually address issues between couples? Okay, for example, avoiding confrontation, right, may not necessarily be wrong, okay, but it may not also be healthy for your relationship and marriage, right? And when I mean avoiding confrontation, right, like you try to avoid talking about issues between yourself and your partner. You just move on. You just sometimes you even pretend like nothing is happening. Let's just move on. It's fine. It's okay. Meanwhile, it's really, really not okay. Or because you just don't want to, roughen your feathers. You just don't want to, have any issues to begin to talk back and forth. You just feel, okay, let's just leave it like that, and, sometimes that may not be healthy for your relationship. So there are many factors. There are many factors to actually consider, okay, in addressing issues, between between couples. All right. So the first thing I want to talk about is, was there a pre-discussed and agreed model for conflict resolution, right? Before your marriage, and while you've been married for no matter the number of years you've been married for, have you discussed and agreed on how you would resolve issues, how you would resolve conflicts when they come, so that you're not taken unawares? You already know that yes, conflict is inevitable, and so you're not dodging conflict. You're even waiting for it to come so that you can use that opportunity opportunity to understand your partner better. So are there do you have, have you agreed on how you would resolve your conflicts? Okay, how you would resolve the issues, whatever issues that that come up, okay, ranging from finance issues, money issues, to sex issues, to in-law issues, to personality issues. There are just a number of conflicts that would keep happening over and over. And the more you resolve conflicts, the better you would become. And of course, the better you become at resolving conflicts, the closer you would also become, because you would have understood your partner better. All right, if you're here with me, please type in the comments. Let me know that you're watching, you can hear me and you can see me. And if you're catching this on a replay as well, please type in the comments, type #replay, so that I know that you were here. Okay. So what models have you come up with your partner, to resolve conflicts when they come? All right, because if you don't prepare for something, then you're also planning to fail. I'm sure you know that popular quote: if you fail to plan, then you have already planned to fail. Okay, so you can decide that you have certain days of the week or of the month that you would talk. Okay, so you will talk about whatever issue that you may have had. All right, so you should have like talking days of the week. It could be one day in the week where both of you just pour out your heart and you just want to talk. And at that point, you also pre-agree that it's not a time to judge. It's not a time to condemn one another. You just want to pour it out, and you should create that atmosphere to be free in your home to talk about whatever it is that is an issue. Okay, so there should be that talk day. All right, talk day can also be an appraisal day. All right, it can also be an appraisal day or appraisal time. It can be as time permits. It can be once in a month, or once in a week, or once every 2 weeks, so that you're sure that you're not sweeping issues under the carpet. You're not just just sweeping issues. You're not creating that gap unconsciously. All right, so you may have also pre-agreed, or such a couple may have pre-agreed that okay, we're not going to go to bed angry. Okay, we're not going to go to bed angry. All right, and that is also another model you can adopt. Okay, whatsoever it is that is the problem, we must talk about it before we go to bed. Okay, and this can be easier said than done. Okay, so you need to create that model and try as much as possible to keep to it. Okay, this is a way that you can address your issues as they come. All right, so you create that model that you will not go to bed angry. And what this does is that it helps you talk about your issues as they come, rather than keep them and keep piling up, make them pile up. All right, and of course, another model is that you can just express your hurts, express whatever it is that is bothering you in that relationship or in that marriage as it is happening. All right, that can also be a model. All right, so marriage is, you have to create a structure. You have to create a structure around it. You don't just leave it to chance and say, okay, whatever happens, and if he doesn't talk, I won't talk. If she doesn't talk, I won't talk. No, you have to create a structure around your marriage. So you can also decide, okay, we would express our hurts without piling them up as they are happening. All right, sometimes you may have to just wait a bit so that the tension goes down a bit before you talk about it. But the idea is that you're expressing whatever it is that is bothering you as it is happening. All right, so that you don't just leave it and let it just go like that without resolving it, and then eventually in the future it may just reoccur. Something similar may reoccur, and because you have not mastered, resolving that particular, kind of issue, it may bring even more problems. So it is very important that these are factors to consider when addressing issues. Another thing is, how have you been? How have such couples, how have they been resolving their issues? How have you been resolving your issues? Over time. So even if there's an issue now, and you don't just come in and say, oh, okay, let's just resolve this issue. How have you been resolving issues that have been happening between yourself and your partner? What are the patterns? All right, what are the patterns? And have these patterns, have they been working? Have these the ways you've been resolving these issues, have they been working? All right. So if it's not been working, have you tried other means? Okay, because there is really no hard and fast rule. All right. Have you tried other means to work it out? Okay. So this is another factor to consider. Number 3 factor to consider is one person, avoiding the issues. Is one partner avoiding the issues, while probably the other is always willing to talk about the issues, because that could also be a problem. One partner may be willing to, have a discussion, have a conversation, about the issue, about the conflict, about, whatever it is that, is bothering you in the relationship. All right, while the other partner may just know what, no, I'm not ready for this, I don't want to talk about this, and all of these also stems from our the way we have all grown up, because we're products of our backgrounds, we're products of our experiences, past experiences. We saw, with everything that we're doing right now, we learned them. And one thing that you need, if you're an intentional husband and wife, you need to always ask yourself questions. I think that is one of the best gifts I've been able to give myself as a coach, right? And anybody can, adopt this strategy. I am always asking questions. I'm always asking myself questions. And whenever I get to work with couples or singles, I always ask questions, because questions are the answers. I learned that from one of my mentors, and that's Coach Innocent Usa, right? Questions are the answers, right? And the more questions I ask, in fact, sometimes, when I get feedbacks from those I coach, they're like, wow, as in when the questions you were asking, like I didn't even know when I was just talking, and, we get to the root of the matter. So when you're able to ask yourself questions, you're closer to the solution than ever. So another thing I want to talk about, another factor to consider is, do you involve a professional? Do you involve a coach? As issues happen, or do you have a strategy around it? Like, okay, if the issues are beyond our control, we would involve a coach, we would involve a therapist, to help us in resolving this conflict, rather than leave it, or just pretend like nothing is happening. Let's just continue our lives, without actually resolving the issue. So this is another factor to consider. Do you involve a professional coach, all right, when it comes to issues that are actually beyond your control? All right, so this is very important. This is another very important thing to consider. All right, it's very important for you to consider. Because sometimes the couples may already be immersed, like deeply immersed in the issue, like they are pained, they are hurt, and they really cannot see a way out. They really cannot see the solution, right? But when they involve, a neutral, professional, and balanced coach, such a coach will be able to help them, bring pieces the issues, and help in asking questions, quality and right questions that will take them closer to the solution. All right. So sometimes you may want to this is another factor to just consider. partner. Okay. Another thing is, it depends on the issue. All right. It depends on the issue at hand. Is it a long-standing issue? Is it has this issue been reoccurring and reoccurring? Okay, because that's what will determine how you would even resolve the issue in the first place. Okay, so is it just maybe a misunderstanding or issue around in-laws, maybe interference, or how your spouse doesn't defend you before your in-laws, or how your in-laws come and oppress you. So I'm just giving random issues, or peradventure it's maybe your partner has been cheating, having affairs, and this is not the first time, it's been happening over and over, so there is really no one particular issue. There are many issues that can happen between a husband and wife, and it's so long as you're willing and ready to talk about it, there is a solution. And in cases where that even when we talk about there is no headway, then it is good to involve a professional coach. It is good to involve a professional therapist, all right, in resolving your issues. But just know that in